Have you ever heard the legend of a place so cursed, so drenched in mystery, that even the bravest explorers refuse to speak of it after returning? This is the story of the Forgotten Tomb, a burial site buried beneath centuries of sand, hidden in the far reaches of the desert, where silence itself feels alive. For centuries, locals warned strangers not to venture near it. To them, the tomb was more than just ruins. It was a gateway, a prison for something far older than mankind could comprehend. They say the desert itself conspires to hide it. Sandstorms rise without warning, compasses spin aimlessly, and shadows stretch unnaturally long the closer you get. But still, some men couldn't resist. Archaeologists, treasure hunters, even thrill seekers, many set out to uncover its secrets. Few returned, and those who did came back broken. One of the earliest accounts comes from the 19th century. A French explorer named Henri Delacroix recorded in his journal that he discovered a doorway half buried in the dunes. The lintel bore inscriptions unlike any known Egyptian or Mesopotamian script. When he and his men entered, their torches flickered as if the air itself resisted light. Delacroix described vast halls decorated with murals of skeletal figures bowing before a faceless king. In his final entry, he wrote one chilling line: "The king is not dead, he only waits." Delacroix's journal was found years later, but he and his entire team were never seen again. Decades later, in the 1930s, a British archaeological team attempted a full excavation. They brought heavy equipment, scientists, and military escorts. Yet within days, their camp was struck by disaster after disaster. First, their radio equipment failed. Then, 2 men vanished while mapping the tomb's lower chambers. Finally, the leader of the expedition, Dr. William Carter, was found wandering alone in the desert. Dehydrated and delirious, he claimed something followed them inside the tomb, something that whispered in the dark and made the walls bleed. When pressed, Carter simply repeated one phrase over and over: "It wears a crown of silence." He died 3 days later. But the story doesn't end there. In modern times, satellite scans rediscovered the same coordinates. A small group of documentary filmmakers decided to investigate, despite warnings from local tribes. They entered with high-tech gear, night vision cameras, drones, motion sensors. Yet, just like before, everything malfunctioned. Batteries drained instantly. Cameras captured only static and distorted sounds, like voices chanting in the background. The crew's footage, partially recovered, shows them descending into a vast underground chamber where a black stone sarcophagus lay at the center. Just before the recording cuts off, one of them gasps and shouts. It opened its eyes. No trace of the filmmakers was ever found. What makes this tomb so feared is not just the disappearances, but the curse said to follow those who dare disturb it. Villagers tell stories of men who stole artifacts from the tomb only to die within weeks, suffering visions of shadowy figures standing at their bedside. Survivors describe waking up with sand pouring from their mouths, their lungs burning as if the desert itself was inside them. And then there's the inscription. Every explorer who entered reports seeing the same phrase carved above the entrance in countless languages. Some ancient, some unknown. "Disturb my rest, and you disturb your fate." But who was the king entombed here? Some theorists claim he was a ruler erased from history, condemned by his own people for unspeakable crimes. Others believe he was not human at all, but something older, an entity worshipped as a god long before civilizations recorded history. The faceless murals suggest a ruler whose very identity was forbidden to depict, a being too dangerous to be remembered. The scariest part, the tomb is not empty. Accounts mention a low hum reverberating through the stone like a heartbeat beneath the earth. Sometimes, explorers hear footsteps following them in the darkness, though no one is there. And in the deepest chamber lies that sarcophagus, massive, blacker than obsidian, sealed with chains of an unknown metal. But legends say those chains are weakening. Each time the tomb is opened, something stirs inside. Something that feeds on fear, on curiosity, on the arrogance of those who think they can uncover every secret. So now, I leave you with a chilling question. If you stumbled across this forgotten tomb, with its warnings carved in stone and its history drenched in blood, would you dare step inside? Or would you turn back, knowing that sometimes the past is buried for a reason?